for not very much money, I've added a stereo that looks like it's supposed to be in the car and does everything. It's a Bluetooth hands-free. I can play music on it. It looks way more up-to-date. It modernises the car. Yeah, and as I'm a tech geek, I don't mind playing about with it. Okay, you want to know about my Android car stereo?
Yeah.
Well, before I can even turn it on, I need to make sure the Wi-Fi hotspot is turned on my phone, so it's got some internet.
That sounds inconvenient.
Yeah, it's not too bad. You get used to it, but I'm going to put that in there now, so it's got internet. So when I put the key in, here it comes on, look. Oh, noise. Let's mute it.
Do you have to do that every time though, turn your Wi-Fi hotspot on?
If you want internet, you do, yeah. Which is useful because then the nav has traffic information. So it's just an Android device. If you've seen Android before, you'll be familiar with it. So home is home. You can swipe through these different icons, but that means you can install any apps that you want on it. So for music, I tend to play through Google Play Music, which is what I listen to music on my phone.
Okay.
So I can just choose something I like. I can search for anything. I can even do a voice search. But if I just press play and unmute it, there you go. Turns off the radio and starts playing.
Okay, I've got questions.
Okay.
Can you do this completely using your voice, or do you have to touch it sometimes?
You can do it completely using your voice, but you wouldn't want to.
Why?
Because it's really slow and rubbish. Do you want to try it?
Yeah, say that you've just set off, you're in a hurry, but you do want to play some music.
Hey Google. It's not even listening at the minute. Well, it is listening. You see, it's so slow, you think it's not worked.
So the problem is that it's slow. It takes a long time to respond.
Yes. Let's play that again. Hold on. Right, let's see if we can try again. Hey Google, play Britney Spears.
Oh, this is very slow.
Yeah.
Do you think it'll get it eventually?
No idea. Hey Google, play Britney Spears.
Oh, it's got it now.
Yeah, but it's not a good experience, is it?
Well, what about navigating? Can you say navigate to work?
You might be able to if you use Google Maps, but I don't particularly like Google Maps interface in a car.
Why? Surely that's ideal.
No, it looks too cartoony and doesn't tell you things like where speed cameras are, or at least not, it didn't when I last tried it.
Alright, what do you use?
I prefer to use Nokia Here Maps.
But you're using your finger quite a lot here.
Yeah, so I do this when I just get in, I'll just press drive just so it's in the drive mode if I have this on even if I don't want nav, because it tells me my speed, it tells me what the speed limit is in the area that I'm in.
Yeah.
And so it buzzes if I go over the speed limit to warn me.
Okay.
It tells me about speed cameras, it tells me how far I've travelled. It's quite good. It's got traffic information, so that red line on there, we can see that there's traffic and a petrol station. But it looks quite nice in the car, I think. The car, you can't see because it's daylight, but the car's lights are blue anyway.
Right.
And orange, and it looks quite nice with the blue background. And it's really easy to set my destination. I'll just tap up here and it's got my recent places. If I choose an address, the worst possible one that's going to need the most blurring out, look, it just starts navigation and it looks like part of the car. It's really good. And then we can play music at the same time. Bit of Britney Spears for you.
Okay.
What I also like is on this particular model, it's got physical button controls. So I don't have to take my eyes off and use the touchscreen just to change the volume, to skip the track, to pause, or to go back to the nav. So if I've gone to, say, music, and I need to go back to the nav, I just press that and it brings up the map again. Any more questions?
No.
You can do quite a few things on it. It's good for podcasts as well. You just get your podcast directly on the unit itself. So things like the Unusable podcast, you can just listen directly. Here we go. Look, we can just tap. This is Radio Public. There are other apps available. And you just listen to a podcast on the unit itself.
Okay. How would you get No Such Thing as a Fish podcast?
Well, again, you can just install any podcast app. You can install Google Podcasts if you want.
Well,
but
no, you've already got one.
Okay, so you want me to find No Such Thing as a Fish?
Yes, please.
So I think this particular app has a bad user interface, but there we go. So no search.
Don't do this when you're driving.
No, of course not. You would set it up first. I think that's the beauty of having both. Personally, I like the blend of controls. There's the controls you need when you're driving, like skip track, pause, go back to the nav, change the volume. They're physical controls I don't have to take my eyes off the road for.
Yeah.
But before I set off, I can just spend 30 seconds setting my nav and queuing up No Such Thing as a Fish, if that's what I want to listen to.
But there's no way to do it while you're driving using your voice.
Well, there is, but it's not
reliable.
It's not very nice.
So when you were asking for Britney Spears earlier, could you have also asked for any podcast?
I think so if you want to use Google Podcast app. I don't have that installed, I don't think.
Okay.
But the Google Podcast app links into that. What else do you have on here? You can watch a DVD if you want. Not safe while driving.
Probably best not to.
There is... oh no, I do have Google Podcasts. So Google Podcasts is another way to get podcasts. Probably a little bit better user interface in there.
Could you send a text message while driving?
Not using this device.
There's email. I can see email there. Could you send an email while driving?
I could try. Well, theoretically, yes, but I don't...
But it's a bad idea.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to do it. There is actually an option in the settings to disable notifications and video players while driving.
Yeah.
So the unit knows, it's connected to the car, it knows how fast you're going. So yeah, it disables this. And can I show you a bit of funny translation? Because this unit's from China, so there's some funny translation in one of the apps, which always makes me laugh. Vehicle, here we go. Handbrake brake is brakes. Cleaning liquid is normal. Trunk is normal. Door is closed. Seatbelt, no buckle.
Which door?
Oil, 0 litres.
Why is there 0 litres?
I don't know.
You're running on fumes.
When I initially had it as well, the door, I think it's fixed now, but... Oh no, yeah, so it doesn't... I've opened the right-hand side door, but it thinks the left-hand side door's open. It's a bit confused.
So that when it says door is closed, it's just talking about your door.
Yeah, so theoretically, I think if I put my seatbelt in now, look... Maybe. No, it still thinks it's not plugged in. Maybe I have to turn the ignition on. There we go, look.
Oh.
It works though, it connects to the
Seatbelt
car.
buckle.
Yeah, it's good.
You've
Also,
done the buckle.
while the ignition's on, I can show you that if I press the buttons on the steering wheel, it does change the volume. So you have some control of the stereo from the steering wheel without having to take your hands off.
Oh, that's quite good.
It integrates with the basic things in the car. So an Android device can't normally talk to a car's internal systems, can it?
No.
No. So the way that this works is there are kind of 2 layers that communicate with each other. Okay. There is one layer that talks to the car. The system that most cars use is CAN bus, which is like it just means it's just the way they communicate with themselves. But the stereo is plugged into it basically. It's plugged into the car.
Right.
And then there's Android, and there's kind of they have to talk to each other. The thing that this makes this quite scary is you've got a device here that's connected to the internet. Public internet,
right?
Made by questionable
Chinese programmers
who, well, I mean, you know, I haven't really been able to verify the origin of it, and it has the ability to talk to my car's internal communication system, which literally controls the entire car. Permanently connected to the public internet while I'm driving, made by questionable developers, has the ability to basically do anything to my car.
So a Chinese programmer could control your car.
Yeah, the internal communication system of the car literally does everything. They could reprogram the car, they could shut it down remotely, they could make the windscreen wipers come on remotely, probably.
That'd be funny, wouldn't it?
It's quite...
That'd be funny. Just some programmer thousands of miles away just going, look, guys, I'm going to make his windscreen wipers go. Probably never happened.
Yeah, and it only affects people like me that have installed one of these weird things.
Yeah, so it only affects weirdos, to be honest, so that's fine. So you installed this?
I did. I also installed a reversing camera.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hang on, so how did you make that work with the tablet?
So this unit's built to work with the camera.
Yeah.
So it just has an input on the back, and then I had to wire it up to the car.
So you added your own camera?
Yeah, I added my own camera. So it just comes on when you put it in reverse. And it links into the car's own parking sensors as well to give you this radar display front and back. This car has front and back parking sensors, so I can see.
What does this button do?
That changes the brightness of the screen.
Alright, fine. Is this a CD player?
That is a CD DVD player.
Oh, DVD, of course, yeah.
Yeah, and this is an SD card slot for some maps, for certain apps. Never used it.
Yeah.
This is an SD card slot for music and things.
Yeah.
Never used it apart from, I think, to load on some kind of weird firmware update that I once did.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Could you not download that if you connect to the internet?
Does it have to come through it's a load of weird files that all have obscure Chinese file names and Chinese instructions, and you have to kind of cross your fingers and hope and pray. The firmware update is a bit weird because, you know, I said there's 2 layers. There's the Android layer and there's the car layer.
Yep.
You have to update them separately, but at the same time.
Oh, what? This sounds such a faff.
It is a faff to update. It's a nightmare to update it. But I've only ever had to do that once. Very, very, very occasionally, it will have a bit of a panic and reset itself. But but that's like once every 6 months at the most. It's not like a frequent thing.
What?
Right,
Why would your car stereo just occasionally crash? Nobody wants that.
Has your Ford Fiesta's inbuilt car stereo ever had a crash with the Bluetooth that you've had to then pull over and reset it?
Sometimes the Bluetooth doesn't work, but Bluetooth's just a little bit sketchy, though, isn't it?
But I feel like this is just the same thing. Like, occasionally, it's a very complicated device. I don't know. Like, I agree, it's not ideal, but the frequency it happens, I think it's happened. I've had it 2 years, maybe once, maybe twice that it's happened, and I've had to take some action to.
What do you have to do to fix it? Turn it off and on again?
I think one time I had to literally do a factory reset and reinstall everything. That was annoying.
A lot of people would not have the tolerance for that.
But I think the second time it happened, I was able to do some kind of reset that, just brought it back to life again, and it was fine. It's like many other Android devices in that if they crash, you can press and hold the power button, and it will do a bit of a sort of reset.
Can you do it on the motorway?
I wouldn't think it's safe to. I did actually once have an annoying problem with this, actually, shortly after I got it. I had a really important friend's birthday or something I needed to go to, and it was an hour's drive away, and just at the moment I went to leave, the stereo crashed and was basically just in an endless restart loop, restarting itself. And I really needed the navigation because it was rush hour, it was really busy traffic, and I needed that navigation to tell me where to go.
Yeah.
And I basically just had to cope without it. Yeah, that was really annoying. You can't reset it on the move.
I think that's more than just annoying. What if you really, really needed to get to the hospital?
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend installing this in an ambulance. I don't think that would be a good idea. But
so you're saying it's unreliable?
You
literally can't rely on it.
Look, I don't think it's perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I am willing to tolerate a certain level of lack of polish.
Right, okay.
In return for the level of functionality that it has. Like, literally, I've got Google Play Music or Spotify or whatever in the dashboard. That is so cool.
So have I.
No, you haven't.
All I do is get my phone out, put that on the dashboard, and I've got all those things. And it's already connected to the internet.
But can you control it with your steering wheel?
No, I can control it with my voice. I don't want to have to touch anything.
I don't know. I think this is a superior solution.
Could you play a YouTube video while you're driving?
Yes, if you
Not
turn
really recommend
off
it.
the option in here, driving settings, you can say, look, allow watching video while driving. You can actually turn that off. So if you enable that, you can then watch YouTube while you're driving.
Oh, okay. Could you do that with your voice? So that you're not touching it?
Maybe. But that's kind of dangerous anyway. I'm not sure why you're advocating this.
I don't think that's such a ridiculous thing to ask. I listen to these YouTube videos at work and they're like 2 hour long music mixes and there's nothing on the screen. It's completely static. In fact, our podcast is on YouTube and it's got a very static screen. And so I think that would be quite normal for somebody to say, use their voice and say, play this YouTube video, please. And it played the music.
You can watch YouTube videos. There's nothing to stop you. Have you seen the YouTube Music app? They've got a dedicated app now. That's quite nice because it actually allows you to just have the audio.
Oh, okay, that's good.
So if you want to play your music from YouTube, you can. I think it uses less data as well because it's not streaming the video. It's just
yeah,
audio.
of course, yeah.
Generally, my thoughts on it are, if I had a crash, even if it wasn't my fault and it was nothing at all to do with the stereo, would I be in trouble if the police if I've literally slumped over the steering wheel because I had such a bad crash and the police come and there's like something playing on YouTube on the stereo? That
does look quite bad, doesn't it?
That doesn't look good. Yeah, so I wouldn't do it on that basis.
Yeah.
Even if I knew that I wasn't watching the clip, I was just listening to the audio.
I suppose even if you're watching a video that has no visuals on the screen, it could quite easily skip to the next video, which might be something ridiculous.
And then you might be trying to fight with it to stop it playing and things like that. Well, it actually wouldn't be that difficult because there's a big home button. That is actually one of the things that I don't know if I mentioned in the clip that I really love about this is that all the important functions are covered by physical buttons, so you don't have to take your eyes off the screen, off the road.
Off the road.
Because even manufacturer stereos, a lot of them are just touch based. Even my mum used to have a Vauxhall with a big touchscreen in it, and literally just turning up and down the volume, you had to take your eyes off the road, look at the screen, look for the plus icon, and you'd have to try and get your finger to the plus point, which is not easy to do with you bouncing up and down in a car. You couldn't even press and hold it. You had to go tap 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 tap.
Oh, what? That's so annoying.
Yeah, and that's a manufacturer built-in stereo.
And
whereas
you don't even have that sort of tactile feedback that you know that you pressed it.
It did go like boop 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 boop. So you knew you were turning it up.
No good if you're deaf though.
one of the weirdest things is you
Don't
have
do
to
your password, I'm recording.
No, this is just like a standard password for the unit, I think. I think it's that.
Alright.
So they have these special factory settings which can basically, you can just break it, but some of the options have to be configured in here.
Just to make this bit clear, in addition to the settings that they give you access to, there's like a manufacturer settings where you get access to extra things that if you know the secret password that is given out on, you don't get it with the unit, you have to look on a forum or something to find the secret password. And then you can access these extra hidden settings which allow an extra degree of customization.
Who wants to look on a forum to use their car stereo? You. Clearly just you.
Yeah, maybe just me.
You can choose the logo when it starts up, so I set it to Volkswagen because this is a Volkswagen.
This is literally just for when the stereo boots up, it shows a logo. And by default, it's like an Xtrons logo. But if you go into these settings, you can set one that matches your car. So when it boots up, it looks, again, more like it belongs in the car, which is one of the things that I liked.
Utterly pointless.
I don't know. I think there's something to be said about it looking part. I don't know. Is it an OCD thing of mine? Maybe OCD? It has to be part of it.
Some of the options, though, are hilarious. Knob mode.
Oh, put it in knob mode, definitely.
Prohibit reverse, enable. It's never stopped me from
Prohibit reverse.
It's never stopped me from reversing. Yeah.
So is it in knob mode already?
You can do... Oh.
You've got a right rudder.
Right rudder?
Is this also used for boats?
Yeah. I guess it must be.
That obviously is just a bad translation. It means right-hand drive.
Really?
Yes.
How is anyone supposed to know that?
Well, this is manufacturer options that are kind of hidden normally.
Get notifications at the top.
Is that useful or is that confusing if you're driving?
Well, there's an option to hide them when you're driving anyway, so you don't really need them.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't come up over the map. That would be really annoying. In the car is one place that I really don't want notifications.
Yeah, well, I've disabled them for mostly everything. It's actually interesting that it feels like with Android they assumed that you'd want notifications because it's primarily for a phone.
Yeah.
So I had to go through a lot of apps and disable the notifications because I didn't want them popping up.
Yeah, okay.
So like Gmail, which is just on... I don't even know why it's on there, but it's just built into the device.
Why would you need it?
Well, I don't, but the problem is I didn't even set it up, but because I signed it into my Google account for Google Play Music... It signs you into everything Google, and then all of a sudden you start getting email notifications, and so I had to go in and try and find the setting to turn that off.
Oh, that is not what you want.
And the same with like podcast apps and things like that. They'll notify you of a new podcast for something you subscribe to.
I don't like the idea that if we publish a new podcast, it might pop up on someone's car and make them distracted.
No, I mean I think it's a kind of bastardized adaptation of Android, isn't it? Right? Android's made for tablets and phones, primarily phones.
I suppose it's not its core use, so they weren't really thinking of that.
Yeah, it's definitely been adapted, but I think it's mostly successful. I think a lot of things are transferable,
right?
But there are some areas that it clearly hasn't been optimized for.
Yeah, and it has built-in radio. You can actually get a DAB radio module for it, but everyone says that they are rubbish and don't work very well. So I've just coped with FM.
Could you do a Google search? You know, if you really, really want to learn something.
Yeah.
Like, how many wives did Henry VIII have? You know, it might just occur to you when you're driving that you want to know that. Could you ask
How many wives did Henry VIII have? There you go. There's the spouse count.
But it doesn't read it out to you.
No, I think if you ask the Google Assistant it will. That was voice search, which is an older Google thing.
Whoa. So you had to press that.
Hold on, it was muted anyway, so it might be just because it was muted.
Alright, okay.
Let's turn the radio off. Right.
Ask again, see if it's changed.
Hey Google. She's not. How many wives did Henry VIII have? See, it's so slow.
Catherine Parr from 1543 to 1547, Catherine Howard from 1540
It's
to
going into a lot of detail this
1542,
time.
Anne of Cleves from 1540 to 1540, and others.
This is actually one of the more powerful ones as well, or it was when I bought it. So this is an octa-core unit.
Right.
Based upon, it doesn't mean much to me, but PX5 I think it's called.
Fine. Okay.
Is the processor, but they're obviously made quite cheaply.
It's very, very slow. Very, very slow.
Even though it's an octa-core processor.
Even though it's an octa-core processor. I don't know what's the reason for that is. I don't know whether it's missing some kind of I don't know whether phones these days have a special extra processor that just deals with voice or something.
Oh, it's because it needs 9 processors.
Maybe.
If it had 9 processors, it'd be super quick. 8's just not enough.
No, but a lot of modern phones have dedicated chips for one particular purpose, right? Like, I think the Pixels, I could be wrong on this, but I think the Pixels have a dedicated chip for example, biometrics for doing the fingerprint.
Yeah, because that is fast.
And that's partly for security, but it's also partly because, it's fast. You want it literally optimized to unlock instantly and be dedicated for that. If you use the main processor and it's currently busy, I don't know, downloading a tweet or something, and you press your finger on it and it's, hold on a minute, I'm processing a tweet, it's not good enough. So I think that modern Pixels, etc., will have a dedicated piece of hardware inside them which is listening for the OK Google command and fires up really quickly and can recognize voice. Whereas this probably has to rely on its main processor, which gets queued in with all the other things it's doing, and it's not a particularly powerful processor anyway. So I think that's probably where the delay comes from.
But it works. Who doesn't want a DVD player on their car stereo?
Nobody wants a DVD player.
No, I know.
Anything else to say?
I think you're unduly harsh on the Android car stereo.
I think it's for people who enjoy faffing about with the controls.
Yeah,
I don't think it's for mainstream audience. It's a bit too complicated.
I agree with that, actually. I think that it offers a lot of functionality, but it doesn't feel like a finished product ready for the mass market.
Yeah.
But, I don't think the mass market would easily get hold of one. I had to go on a lot of forums and do some research. I ordered it from a special site, and you can get them direct from China, but it's all...
does seem very awkward.
You have to do your research, know what you're buying into. The level of features and functionality that it offers, I think, are great. I also, like I said before, like the way that it's a very original looking unit. I mean, that car is a 10-year-old car. The standard stereo didn't have Bluetooth. It was a basic radio and CD player. That was it. So for not very much money, I've added a stereo that looks like it's supposed to be in the car and does everything. It's a Bluetooth hands-free. I can play music on it. It looks way more up-to-date. It modernises the car. I think, and as I'm a tech geek, I don't mind playing about with it.
If by some miracle you've enjoyed this video, you can subscribe for more. We also do a podcast called the Unusable Podcast where we talk about technology and things that go wrong. Mostly...
Rubbish.